Good morning. I hereby, this meeting of the Louisiana Tax Commission hereby called to order. This meeting is being held at the offices of the Louisiana Tax Commission at 1051 North 3rd Street, Suite 225, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The date is Wednesday, July 24th, 2024. The time is 9:02. If we could do the roll call.
Chairman Rousseau, Commissioner Leone,
Present.
Commissioner Romick,
Here.
Commissioner Guidry,
Here.
Commissioner Frazier,
Here.
4 present and a quorum.
Do we have any old business? All right, moving on to the approval of minutes.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the minutes from July 17th.
I have a motion. Do we have any objections?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the 2 sets of minutes from the separate meetings on July 17th.
Good. All right, we have a motion. Any objections? Motion is passed. All right. Next to the consideration of change orders.
Shandrika Banks on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today we have a total of 253 change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests to approve 239 and place 14 in pending status. Staff requests approval of these change orders.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve 239 change orders and place 14 in pending status for reasons given by staff.
Do I hear any objection? With no objections, the motion is passed. On to prior pending change orders.
Shandrika Banks on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today we have a total of 26 prior pending change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests to approve 20 and keep 6 remaining in pending status. Staff requests approval of the prior pending change orders.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve 20 of those change orders and keep 6 remaining in pending status for reasons given by staff.
Any objections? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted. On to the consideration of tax sale.
Shandrika Banks on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today we have a total of 3 tax sale cancellations. We have 2 in Ouachita Parish due to being erroneously sold and 1 in Red River due to being erroneously sold. Staff requests approval of 3 tax sale cancellations.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the 3 tax cancellation as presented by staff.
Do I hear any objection? With no objections to the motion stands adopted. On to the appeals.
Attorney for the Tax Commission, anybody who's going to be testifying at any of today's hearings. So I'll have you stand up in your chairs. I'm going to administer an oath to all of you at once. I'll then indicate to you individually to affirm the oath and also to state your name. Sorry. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Do.
Your name?
Catherine Thomason.
I do Brian Weiner. I do Randolph Floyd.
I do Zach Smith.
I do Robert City. I do Christopher Wilson.
I do David Mejia. I do Gregory Miller. Thank you. Y'all can have a seat.
Appraisers, if you'll unmute. I'll administer an oath to you. Have you affirm the oath? Please raise your right hand. Luke, can you hear me? There we go. Appraisers, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Mike?
Mike Cater, I do.
Reed?
Reed Huval, I do.
Luke?
Luke Brewer, I do.
Sandy?
Sandy Kennedy, I do.
Cody?
Cody Lowry, I do.
And Nicole?
Nicole Singley, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Drew. And I just want to point out before we get started, when we start doing our testimony, all testimony is be given to the tax commission. There will be no cross examining from y'all to one another or none of that stuff, only to the commission. Thank you.
Okay.
On to the taxpayer. Yes, ma'am. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Sandrika.
The first appeal we'll take up for today is the appeal of Michael J. Talbot versus Assessor L.G. Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-74028.
All right, on to the taxpayer.
Good morning. Thank you to the commissioners and everyone for having me this morning to hear my appeal. So this is in regards to property 3220 Chestnut Street. We believe that the proposed building value by the Orleans Tax Assessor's Office and the Orleans Parish Board of Review is not an accurate reflection of the fair market value of the property. Following review of the Louisiana Tax Commission staff appraiser's assessments, we support the fair market value and the building value improvement value of $371,200 as prepared by them. This aligns with previous evidence that we'd provided to the Orleans Parish Board of Review, which included the insurance rebuild estimated costs, which was at $381,150, including debris removal. It also aligns with the comparable rental doubles in Chestnut Station that we were able to ascertain information about in regards to rental property prices. And this is also taking into account the many needed repairs of the building, which includes the roof, the foundation, the back wall, and the HVAC unit, which is over $60,000. I think in light of the new evidence of the Louisiana Tax Commission staff appraisers, information that puts it more aligned with those above items, we would be requesting an improvement value of $371,200 to align with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the taxpayer? All right, with no questions, we move on to the Orleans Parish.
Good morning, David Mejia, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. The property 3220 Chestnut was originally valued for our 2024 assessment at $613,800. The property, the owner, I'm not sure if it was the property owner or the husband, but someone came in from the property and we were able to make a calculation to lower the value to $578,200 from our original analysis of $613,800. The Board of Review affirmed the $578,200, the lowered value. Our independent analysis for this appeal landed at $596, which was closer to a little over a number kind of in between our original number and the revised number. We just want to point out that the property was acquired in 2021 for $628,500 in very good condition. We feel just that we've made some concessions to lower this value. We feel like we're still in the ballpark, and we feel the 493 of the tax commission just is really on the low range for a property that was acquired for over 621. And that's it. I'll be able to answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions for the assessor's office? All right, with no questions, can we hear from the LTC staff appraiser?
Good morning, everyone. It's Nicole Singley, Louisiana Tax Commission appraiser. I did complete an exterior site visit and appraised the property located at 3220 Chestnut Street. The subject is verified as a two-family residential dwelling. The opinion of overall condition from street view at that time is very good. I didn't see no obvious deferred maintenance from the front view or required repairs. Let's see here. Comparable sales that I utilized are located well within half mile of the subject. They're all two-family residential properties. They bracket the subject site size as well as building area. I had the opportunity to review the appraisal submitted by the assessor's office as well. And I did, note there is a significant difference in the amount of $103,000 between the two appraisal reports that were completed. To speak on behalf of the one that I've completed and the assessor, the only difference I see is that the ranges are broader, much broader. So, for example, the range for the assessor would be like 514,750 all the way to 643,410, which is 128,660 range for an opinion of value to fall within. The range that I have here on behalf of LTC was 471,600 to 500,000, which that's a range of 28,400. Very nice, tight range. The opinion of value is 493, like stated, which falls, nicely in there and it's supported. So I did both the sales comparison approach as well as the income approach to value in my analysis. The sales comparison approach produced a value of 486. The income approach produced a value of 499,000. Both given equal weight as how I arrived at that 493,000. 121,800 attributed to the undisputed land, 371,200 to the improvement.
Do we have any questions for the LTC staff?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have one question. I have a statement for the taxpayer. First of all, ma'am, I want to applaud you for being here in this rain and multitasking with your child. That's pretty good. I want to give you that this morning. You've done a heck of a job. And to Mr. David, can you tell me what was the concession that you made from the 613 down to the 578? What was the reason maybe in coming at that amount?
I don't have the exact reason. It was done during the open roll process. The taxpayer came in, submitted something that convinced us that we should come off that number a little bit. I don't have the exact reason though.
Do we have any other questions? Can I hear a motion?
Is it possible just to respond to that?
Go ahead.
Part of the reason why was I think some of the repair costs. So obviously all those, but that was over $60,000. So that was more than was actually reduced. And then it was also because I had them change the square footage, which was incorrect on the property.
Thank you. Any more questions? Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to an assessment total of 528,400, land of 121,800, improvements 406,600. Basis is looking at one comp for both LTC and assessor, which is 3025 Laurel, that really came in at average of 493,000. But knowing that there was an income approach, I looked at the all sales, which was the combined average of the two assessments of 528,000.
Do we have any discussion on the motion? Do we have any objections to the motion? There being no objections to the motion stands adopted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thanks for accommodating us early. Thank you, everyone.
All right, we'll move on to our next appeal.
Okay, the next appeal we have on the docket is the appeal of Assessor L.G. Williams versus Saxon Holdings LLC in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-73204.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that docket or the letter on the agenda?
It's letter C on the agenda, docket number 23221-73204.
Thank you.
All right, if we can hear from the Orleans Parish Assessor.
Yeah, Commissioner Frazier, we met in the lobby with Mr. Smith earlier today. We've come up with a consent agreement on these two properties. It's actually two dockets, 2112 North Rampart and 2126. The dockets ending in 3204 and 3205. We'll do the 204 first. So we have come to a consent agreement of 710,000 on that.
Could you give me a breakout on that land and imp?
Yes, sir. So the land would be 305, 400, improvements at 404, 600 for a total of 710.
to the taxpayers. This is what you have agreed on.
Yes, sir.
Taking in light what the agreement has been, make a motion. Do we have a motion?
Mr.
for
Chair,
the-
I move to accept 710,000 total assessment, land at 305,400, improvements at 404,600.
Any objection? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted. On to the next one.
205? Yes. So docket number ending in 3205, 2126 North Rampart. We have come to a consent agreement of 670,000 total. That would put the land at 163,700, improvements at 506,300.
Taxpayer agrees with this.
Yes, sir.
All right, do I have a motion for the,
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the total assessment of 670,000, land at 163,700, improvements at 506,300.
do I have any objection to the motion? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next appeal we have on the docket today is the appeal of John Robbie Petty III, Living Trust versus Assessor L.G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-74073.
Try and do that.
The taxpayer is welcome to go first.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity to come and appeal before the commission. Originally, the property was reappraised at like 650,000, which was more than a 50% increase from its previous appraisal, which was kind of shocking to me. I looked at some of the records on the tax assessor's website at recent sales. The unit right beneath me, I live in a building that is 5 stories tall. It's a little over 100 years old and has units in the front and units in the back. So 2 units per floor. And 2 units within my building, one beneath me and one 2 floors above, sold within 6 months of the appraisal date of January 2023. The first one sold for a very low price, $307,000, which was, and it's the same floor plan. All those units have the same floor plan. So it is the same square footage, same floor plan as my unit. And the one 2 floors above me sold for $545, although the appraiser appraised it at $510, or I'm sorry, $501. And so I appealed that decision, went to the first review with the assessors, and they knocked it down some, and the Board of Review simply upheld that. And I then moved forward with the appeal to the Tax Commission, and the Tax Commission's appraisal, I'm in full agreement with. I think it was 485,000, which would still recognize an increase of about 70,000 over my previous appraisal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the taxpayer?
Mr. Chair, I have 2 questions. Number one, just to confirm, there was a document and you actually quoted it, have a letter that I believe you submitted where you state you were agreeable to 261 at the square footage from your condo docks of 1,846 square feet versus 1,918 square feet. So
Yes.
your actual square footage that you're testifying to is 1,846.
Yes.
And you're agreeing.
In 2009, there was an amendment to the board document, to the condo docs, because of 2 of the units in the other building had incorporated what had been public area as far as the condo was concerned. So it wasn't in the allocation for condo fees. They had incorporated them into their unit. So it increased their square footage by over 200, and they reviewed the other ones and it knocked some of them down because the old brick wall building actually has less square footage in the lower units than it does in the upper units. Is the brick wall, which is about 24 inches thick at the base, is, something like 14 inches thick at the top. So and there are a few piping things that cause some internal areas to the units to be a little different. So they updated those in 2009.
And as well as you're agreeable to 261 square footage.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the taxpayer? Orleans Parish, you can go ahead.
Good morning, once again, David Mejia, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. So this value of this condominium was originally valued at $651,900. We made a reduction down to $586,700, which was affirmed by the Board of Review. In preparing for this appeal, our independent analysis landed at $610,000. However, we did come across the amendment to the square footage of 1846. And it was after the fact of our date of submittal, so we weren't able to revise our appraisal. But I have some a reduction based off of the 1846. That value would be $565,800, which would be $67,100 for land, $498,700 for building, for a total of $565,800 based off of the reduced square footage to 1846.
Do I have any questions for the Orleans Parish Assessor? I have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
I was looking at some of the documents, and this gentleman is in Unit A, and some of the sales were from C and D, and it was pointed out in one of the documents that the C and D building, is it newer than the A and B building? Newer construction?
Yeah.
There's two adjacent,
The
right?
new building was built when the old building was renovated to two units per floor in 1983 to 85. And actually, I lived two houses down in an apartment at the time that was going on, so I was watching some of that construction go on, interestingly enough.
Okay, that was the question, just looking at the sales. I've seen a bunch of the sales came out of C and D building, so I was just curious what its condition was pertaining to A and B. Anybody else have any questions?
I have
for
a
the-
question, Mr. Chairman. Pretty much along the lines of what you were talking about. So David, what are you telling me is that you haven't had a chance to appraise the building as is, as its present date?
Informally, we have, not formally for the hearing. We came across the corrected square footage that was amended that we did not have in our possession. Lots of time, these condominium regimes, they amend their condo documents, but they don't record them. And so we don't receive a lot of these amendments. So we did not have this until after the fact. I think we extracted it out from one of the review of the tax commission appraisal. I think the taxpayer may have provided that to the tax commission appraiser is what we saw, and it took us some time to find it.
Thank you, Dave.
Any other questions for the Orleans Parish? Can we hear from the LTC staff appraiser?
Good morning again, everyone. Nicole Singley, Louisiana Tax Commission appraiser. I did personally complete an exterior site visit of the subject located at 1436 Jackson Avenue, Unit 2A, per the owner's request. He was out of town at that time. The subject is a condominium unit. I can't speak this morning, located in Lafayette Oaks. I did an extraordinary assumption as far as condition and just put it as far as condition average. The property owner agreed to accept the land value of $67,100, but did not accept the assessor's building area of 1918. The owner did provide to me, as he stated, Exhibit A from the Lafayette Oaks Condo Association that provides information such as the unit number, square footage, percent of interest. So the square footage that I did use was that 1846, which was confirmed and verified. I did take time to review the independent analysis provided by Orleans Parish as well. I do acknowledge that sales 4 and 5 they use are located in the same building. My report, LTC's appraisal assignment does not include those because they fall outside of our effective date range as far as our criteria. We try to stay true to that range. So with that being said, I did complete a sales comparison approach to value. I estimate the market value for the subject to be $485,000 as of the effective date of January 1st, 2023. 67,100 is allocated to that land. The improvement would be 417,900. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions
welcome.
for LTC? With no questions, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve a total value of $524,067,100 for land, $456,900 for improvements, making the adjustment off of the assessor's initial request, and then what was testified to at the 1,846 square footage, and comparing all sales. That's a middle ground between appraiser and LTC.
Could you give me that total value one more time?
Certainly,
Greg?
524,000, 67,100 for land, 456,900 for improvements.
Do we have any discussion on the matter? Do we have any objections? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted. Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff.
Thank you.
Next, we have the appeal of Assessor L.G. Williams versus Raj L. Randolph in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-76223.
Could you give a letter on the agenda, please?
That's letter Q.
Orleans Parish, whenever you're ready, you can get started.
First.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Original, appraisal value. I'm sorry. We're looking at the property at 1633 Robert Street in the Barone assessment area of Uptown. Our original appraised value, assessment value was 700,800. We did an independent appraisal with a value of 666,000. During the process, this was done early on in the process for the appeal. We have discovered some damage to the subject property through photographs and other information that was provided. In light of that information, we have some room to some movement room on our value. We looked at the appraisal of the Louisiana Tax Commission and our appraisal that was done with the 666,000 value. We have a common comparable sale at 2014 Jenna Street, which our adjusted value is 534,300. The LTC appraisal value was 536,600. And the differences in the appraisal, we did both consider the property in average condition. However, comparable number one in the LTC appraisal shows there was considerable damage and included that they would not be able to obtain FHRVA financing due to the damages. Property needs updating. Also, comparable number two in the comments on the MLS listing shows the property needs a ton of work, inspection report and quotes are for reference only because they had damages after Hurricane Ida that were not included on the quotes. So basically what which we're presenting is to take an average of the comparable sale that we used in common to go between those two with a value of 535,000.
Can you give us the breakout real
Yeah, I
quick?
can, it would be 189,200 for the land, 345,800 for the improvements.
Anybody have any questions for the assessor's office? All right, no questions. We'll move on to the taxpayer.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Brian Weimer, and I'm here on behalf of the homeowner, Dr. Randolph Roig, who is here and present. So our response to the appeal included a number of exhibits. Would any of the commissioners wish to have printed copies of those? I saw a notation to bring copies for the commissioners.
Yeah, we have them. We have them all.
Okay, thank you. So, in response, the Board of Review determined the value of the property to be $360,000. The homeowner obtained an appraisal of the property that showed the value to be $365,000, which is very close to the Board of Review's determination. The appraisal conducted by the Louisiana Tax Commission, or on behalf of the Tax Commission, determined the value to be $470,000. And that appraisal notes that on page 4, that it states, owner had recently completed repairs during March of 2024 and provided supporting data with the appeal and to the appraiser at inspection. So we have a difference in value between our appraisal amount, which totals $365,000, and the tax commission appraisal amount, which totals $470,000. And so why is that? The explanation is that the repairs that were needed and noted in the appraisal for Dr. Roig have been conducted. And so the value as of 2023 we would submit is what we have submitted, $365,000. However, we do appreciate that Mr. Cater came to the property, met with us, came inside to review the damage and look at the repairs we had made, and spend a good bit of time inspecting the property. So we are certainly prepared and willing to accept the tax commission appraisal amount of $470,000. And I don't know if the commission would.
That's fine. Go ahead.
The $360,000 amount, I mean, reflects, if you look in the inside of my house, the floors are like a roller coaster, and it has foundation problems. My brother-in-law is an electrician. He's horrified at the condition of my house. So I think that the appraisal value of $360,000 that the Board of Review agreed with was appropriate at the time of the reassessment of my property. And I do thank you all for your service and listening to me.
Thank you. Any more questions for the taxpayers? I have one question just to verify. So these improvements that you're talking about, they were made after January 1 of 2024.
Yes, sir.
So they are done now, everything.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right. You
I
have,
was going to ask if I could make just one statement
Go ahead.
pertaining to the testimony that they had. The Board of Review value, it appears, was based on a Louisiana Tax Commission appraisal from the previous quadrennial. So that basically we didn't put a lot of weight in that. The independent appraisal that they had, while the comparable sales looked appropriate, they had adjustments across the board of over $200,000 to most of them. And that seemed a bit high for the condition differences, looking at the other other comparables that were also in average condition. That's basically all that's.
any other questions for the Orleans Parish? All right. We'd like to hear from the LTC staff appraiser.
Mike Cater, LTC staff appraiser. The subject was a duplex property located at 1633 Robert. The subject was considered in average condition on the inspection. However, there had been recent repairs, and the owner provided some invoices during the inspection and pointed out those repairs to me. A sales and income approach were developed. For the sales approach, the sales grid of improved properties was completed. 3 sales were selected and used for this comparison. 2 sales were in average condition. 1 was in very good condition. All sales received adjustments, mainly for differences in site and improvement square footage. Income approach was completed using 4 sales from MLS data to develop a gross rent multiplier and square footage income. final estimated value of the property as improved was indicated $470,000, with land being $189,200 and improvements being $280,800.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the LTC staff appraiser?
Mr. Chair, I have two questions for LTC staff appraiser. Mr. Cater, you are also the appraiser for the 2020 appeal, correct?
I think so. I don't have that data in front of me, but I think so, yes.
And just to confirm, 2014 Jenner Street was one of your comps, and your appraisal of that was 536,600.
Yes, that is the adjusted value.
Thank you. And if I may, Mr. Chair, for the assessor's office, just to confirm, 2014 Jenner Street, your assessment was 534,300.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions? Can I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the total value of 535,000 as a basis for total taxable land at 189,200, improvements at 345,800. Again, noting the comparable sale between LTC and staff and assessor being an average of 535,000.
Do I have any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Nick?
Is that the amount of the LTC appraisal? Because it states 470,000, and I apologize.
The 2014 Jenner Street is a comparable property between the two. And the assessor's at 534,000, LTC's at 537,000, average of 535.
I guess I'm not understanding why the difference from what the LTC appraisal recommended appraisal amount is.
That's my motion, sir.
Any objection to the motion? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted. Thank you.
Very much.
Next, we have the appeal of Reed and Sheila Damas Family Trust number 2 versus Assessor L.G. Williams in Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-74004.
All right. Taxpayer, whenever you're ready.
Commissioner Frazier, if I could, we've come to a consent agreement with the taxpayer. I can give you those figures. It's 2 dockets. We'll start with the first one first. The first docket ending in 4004, 2100 St. Charles Avenue, 11M. We are coming up, let me get my glasses, can't see. The consent agreement was 399,000, which is the board review total, the current total.
To the taxpayer, you're agreeable with this?
Yes, yes.
Can I hear a motion?
Chair, I have a motion to, which agreed upon from the assessor to the taxpayer for a total of $399,000, which is land of $25,700, improvement of $373,300.
Do I have any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted.
All right, moving on to 005.
Yep, docket number ending in 40005, 2100 St. Charles Avenue, 11N. We have a consent agreement of 126,000. That would put the land at 8,200 and the improvements at 117,800 for a total of 126.
And the taxpayer is in agreement on this.
Yes, an agreement.
Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make the motion to accept the agreement, total value of 126,000, land at 8,200, improvements at 117,800.
Do I have any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Next, we have the appeal of Susan P. Schuen versus Assessor Errol G. Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-74003.
Doing good. Y'all welcome to get started when you're ready.
Hello? Oh, okay. As you can tell, we're very inexperienced with this, but we kind of dropped the ball coming to this because of some illnesses in the family and with each of us. And the only rebuttal that I was able to get were some other comps that I looked up around our property. And where our house sits is Carondelet, and then that is the stopping point for the Garden District is Carondelet, and then you have Central City across the street from our property. And I kind of feel like we're getting judged on the houses from St. Charles and all that around us instead of the actual house we have and the houses that are directly in the area. And I have a few here. I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. I've never done this before.
Don't be nervous, but we have the
I'm
information that you've submitted too, so
You have what?
we have the information that you've already submitted.
Okay,
and
well,
we
my
looked over.
partner, our partner submitted all that. I don't even know what he sent y'all.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you won't be able to submit anymore.
Oh,
It has to be submitted. Yes, ma'am. So
Oh,
we'll
okay.
have what you submitted to go
Oh,
with. Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
well, I thought you had brought it with me today. I'm sorry. But
But like, can we like the place doesn't have central heat and air or anything like.
Oh.
I'm sorry, but the place doesn't have central heat and air or anything, and we kind of dropped the ball because like I said, we both had medical issues. She's totally disabled on disability, and then I was put in the hospital. I had a ruptured aorta aneurysm, and I thought it was a backache, so we kind of couldn't do a lot of stuff to be prepared for it. But we just hope y'all will work with us one way or another because, you know, we planned on retiring there one day, but we might not be able to now, you know?
When we purchased it, it was 99,000 and they're evaluating it now at 500 and something thousand. So the taxes have just gotten out of hand.
I understand. Does anybody have any questions for the taxpayers? All right, we'll move on to Orleans Parish Assessor's Office.
Good morning. Once again, David Mejia, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. The property at 2606 Carondelet, the quadrennial value was 512,100. The Board of Review made a slight concession down to 500. The overall ranges between all parties, other than the taxpayers' requested amount, were fairly tight ranges. We started at 512, we have a 500, a 453, and a 498. Fairly close ranges. And just preparing for the hearing in an effort to compromise, I've kind of just split the difference between all the values myself, because like I said, in reviewing it, I felt that we're all pretty tight. So you have various different methodologies and different people landing at a pretty close number. So the difference that I came up with was 477,500, which would be 141 for the land and 336,500. That's a slight concession, and like I said, landing kind of in between everybody.
Do we have any questions for the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office? We can hear from the LTC staff appraiser now.
Yes, Nicole Singley, LTC appraiser, completed an exterior site visit of the subject property located at 2606 Carondelet Street. The owner did request that I measure the improvement at the time of site visit. The subject is confirmed as a fourplex multifamily residential dwelling. The opinion of subject's overall condition at the time of site visit was noted as average. Comparable sales employed are located well within less than half a mile from the subject. I had the opportunity as well to review the appraisal submitted by the assessor's office, and there is a difference in opinion between the two assignments, roughly 45,000, which is pretty tight range. So we fall within a very similar range. Just for the taxpayers, if it helps any, the comparable sales specifically in the assignment completed by myself with Louisiana Tax Commission, the three comparables fall within your same neighborhood assessment area. So that should give you some comfort knowing that, at least from the appraisal from our end, when we do, with that being said, it's important because the land value price per square foot for that piece would be similar. So I mean, it's uniform, if that helps any. So that market would be supported as far as the comp. Other adjustments, the adjustments are not really noted to be very excessive. Unit, the comparable sale number 2 from the MLS states that it actually has window units. I know that was a concern I just heard as well. So I just kind of went back to look at that. So with that being said, the sales comparison approach and income approach to value were employed in my analysis, and the sales comparison approach produced a value of 462,000. The income approach produced a value of 443,000. I weighted both of them equally to come up with that opinion of market value of 453,000. So if there's any more questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the LTC staff appraiser? You can ask us. And yes, just using the market income of what properties around you are renting for. No, ma'am, you'd use the market, what the standard market is of properties around you. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to accept the assessor's new adjusted figure of total of $477,500 total, which is $141,000 for land, $336,500 for improvements.
Do we have any discussion on the motion? Any objection? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted. Thank you. Appreciate it.
It stays as it is.
It stays as it is.
It will be put at 477,500.
And that's what it is now.
No.
Oh, y'all dropped it?
Yes.
Okay.
We
don't know. Like I said,
it's all good. Not a problem. Y'all have a good day.
Next, we have the appeal of Mr. and Mrs. Lagatula versus Assessor L.G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-72024. The taxpayers are not present.
All right. We'll go with the Orleans Parish Assessor.
Just to confirm, that was 2024? Okay. The property is 137 North Murat. The value of this analysis landed at 364,900 for the quadrennial. That value was affirmed by the Board of Review. Our independent analysis landed very close to that at 366. The tax commission's at 297. They landed on on what we call on the lower side, of the value, but, just didn't feel like the taxpayer presented their case or enough documentation, but, with that being said, I was prepared to split the difference, in a sign of good faith as well. And the offer I had was 331,500. I would have offered them if they would have, been here. But the land would have been 108 and the improvements at 223,500. Essentially just, splitting the difference between, our value and the tax commission value.
And that's 331,500, 222,500 for the improvement.
And 108 for the land. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any questions for the assessor's office? Can we hear from the LTC staff appraiser?
Good morning. This is Sandy Kennedy, and I appraised the property at 137-139 North Murat Street. I appraised it at $297,000 with an undisputed land value of $108,000 and an improvement value of $189,000. My market value came out at $325,000, and I also did an income approach, which came out at $269,000, and I split the difference between the two and added them together and divided and came up with the total of $297,000.
Do we have any questions for the LTC staff appraiser?
Mr. Chair, I have a question for LTC staff appraiser. Ms. Kennedy, just for my knowledge and growth here, the income approach, you used $1.15 a square foot, which was the South Bernadette property, which was a comparable between you and the assessor at the sales approach. But that rent per square foot is $1.15, but you have three other properties with one reaching as high as $1.63. Can you help me understand why you choose the $1.15 as opposed to some sort of blend with the other comps?
Let me find my page. Yes, I took the median range of the sales, which gave me the $1.15 a square foot.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No further questions. Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to accept the assessor's new $331,500 on the building total sale, which would be $108,000 on the land, $223,500 on the improvements.
We have a motion. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted.
Next, we have the appeal of LaShonda G. Ambrose versus Assessor L.G. Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-73034.
Assessor's office, you can go when you're ready.
Good morning. Once again, David Mejia, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. The property is 6045 Aaron Drive. The value it's been a very minor change. Our prior quadrennial was 158. The new quadrennial landed at 165,200. That value was affirmed by the Board of Review, and all subsequent values are actually north of that, with the tax commission at 170 and our independent analysis at 188. With that being said, we feel the taxpayer did not meet the burden, and we're just requesting that the board reviewed number of the 165,200, which is the lower of the values, be affirmed.
Any questions for Orleans Parish Assessor's Office? Can we hear from the LTC staff appraiser?
Good morning, Luke Brewer with the LTC. I did an appraisal, an exterior inspection on 6045 Aaron Drive. The appellant contested the land value, so a land sales analysis was utilized. However, after finding three comparable land sales within a half a mile and adjusting them appropriately, I agree with the assessor's land value. I used the comparable sales approach as it's a single family residence. All three comparable sales were within 0.3 miles. The value range indicated after adjustments was 136,600 to 204,700. My final opinion of value was 170,000, which is 14,600 for the land and 155,400 for improvements.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the LTC staff? No questions, can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to accept the LTC value of total of $165,200, and not the LTC, the assessor Board of Review, and would make the land at 14,600 and improvement 150,600, total, like I said, 165,200.
Do we have any discussion on the matter? Do we have any objections? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted.
Next, we have the appeal of 3527 Camp Street LLC versus Assessor LG Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-76115. It's letter J on the agenda.
Good morning, once again, David Mejia here again. The property 3527 Camp was originally valued at $1,630,000. The Board of Review reduced the value down to $950,000. Our independent analysis for this hearing was $970,000 and Tax Commission's $925,000. Those are all, again, pretty tight ranges, once again, with the $950,000 Board of Review determination kind of landing in between. So we're requesting the Board of Review number be affirmed, the $950,000.
Do we have any questions for the Orleans Parish Assessor? Can we hear from the LTC staff appraiser?
Hi, my name is Reed Huval. I did a personal appraisal on 3527 Camp Street in New Orleans. I came up with a total value of $925,000. Undisputed land value is $215,200, and the improvement value is $709,800.
Do we have any questions for the LTC staff appraiser? Do we have any discussion on the motion? Any objections to the motion? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted.
Next, we have the appeal of H.R. Milan LLC versus Assessor LG Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-76143.
Orleans Parish Assessor, when you're ready.
It's, excuse me, 6143, 4418 Daniil. Okay. David Mejia here once again. The appellant appealed several properties. So most of these are going to be all consecutive. The value that was assigned for this value for the quadrennial was $635,600. The Board Review lowered it based off of a recommendation that we had given to $546,600. All subsequent values again are north of that. So we're requesting the lower value, which is $446,600, the Board Review determination.
Can you give us that overall value again y'all are requesting?
Yep, that's $546,600, $151,200 for the land, $395,400 for the improvements.
Do we have any questions for Orleans Parish? Can we hear from the LTC staff appraiser?
Yes, Mike Cater, LTC appraiser. The subject property was a duplex located at 4418 Donnell Street in New Orleans. I completed a sales and an income approach on the property. The estimated final value of the property is improved with $600,000, with land being $151,200 and improvements being $448,800.
Do we have any questions for the LTC staff appraiser? With no questions, can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to accept the Parish Board of Review total of $546,600, land $151,200, and improvements $395,400.
Do we have any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted.
Next, we have the appeal of H.R. Napoleon LLC versus Assessor Earl G. Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-76145, and this is 1907 Napoleon Avenue.
Thank
Orleans
you once
Parish.
again. David Mejia here once again. This is a similar situation as this one. Our original value is $1,037,800. We made a recommendation. The Board of Review lowered it based off of that recommendation to $882,200. The $882,200 once again appears to fall in between our independent number, our original number, and the tax commission value. So we're requesting the $882,200 be affirmed. We feel the taxpayer did not meet the burden approved.
Any questions for the Orleans Parish Assessor? Can we hear from the LTC staff appraiser?
Mike Cater, LTC appraiser. The subject was a sixplex property located at 1907 Napoleon. Inspected the property. It was considered in average condition. A sales and income approach was developed. The final estimated value of the property was $850,000, with land being $216,000 and improvements being $634,000.
Do we have any questions for the LTC staff appraiser? There
Mr.
being no questions, can we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the assessor's request of $882,200 total, land at $216,000, improvements $666,200.
There being a motion, do we have any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted.
Next, we have the appeal of H.R. Britannia LLC versus Assessor Earl G. Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-76146. This is 1301 General Pershing Street.
Orleans Parish.
Good morning, once again. The property at 1301 General Pershing. This is a similar situation. The value was $730,600. Based off a recommendation by our office, lowered to $621,100. All subsequent values or north of that, we're requesting the lower value of $621,100, which is the Board Review current value.
$621,100. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do we have any questions for the parish assessor? No questions. Can we hear from the LTC staff appraiser?
Mike Cater, LTC appraiser. The subject was a duplex property located at 1301 General Pershing Street. It was considered in average condition on inspection. A sales and income approach was developed. Final value of the property as improved was $720,000, with land being $216,000 and improvements being $504,000.
Do we have any questions for the LTC staff appraiser? Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted.
Next, we have the appeal of H.R. Camp versus Assessor L. G. Williams in the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23-221-77061. This is 7717 St. Charles Avenue.
Orleans Parish.
I apologize, Ms. Banks. I have that one marked as withdrawn. Is that not withdrawn? Is that still? Okay, just want to make sure. My notes indicated it was withdrawn, but that's fine. 7061-7717 St. Charles. Okay. So this is another similar situation. Our original value was $1,138,400. Based off of a recommendation, we lowered the value to $967,600. Our independent analysis landed at $971. Very similar. The tax commission was at $800. However, we're requesting the Board of Review value be affirmed based off of our reduction that we made already. That was affirmed by the board review, and along with our independent analysis, we felt it was a closer number.
Do we have any question for the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office?
What was that total number again, David, that you gave us?
967, 600, 358 for the land, 609, 600 on the improvements.
There being no other questions, can we hear from the LTC staff appraiser?
Good morning, Luke Brewer with the LTC. I did an exterior only appraisal on 7717 St. Charles Avenue. The land value was not contested. I did both the comparable sales analysis and income approach. All three of my comparable sales were within 0.2 miles of the subject. The value range between the comparable sales after appropriate adjustments is 674, 850 to 988, 700. Around the same range that the assessor's office has their values at, maybe a little bit lower, but still pretty close. The final opinion of value based on the comparable sales approach is 800,000, and the income approach is also 800,000. We use the actual rents, which fall in line with the price per square foot rent of the three available comparable rents. So my final opinion of value is 800,000. 358,000 being the land and 442,000 being improvements.
Do we have any questions for the LTC staff appraiser?
Mr. Chair, I have one question for Mr. Brewer. Similar to my question to Ms. Kennedy previously, just your determination of your rent per square foot. You've got three comps range from 92 cents to $1.95. And it looks like for the square footage, the actual rent per square foot was 96 cents. So could you just help me understand that?
Yes. So I think I mentioned this previously in another hearing. Starting out, I did not include in my grid condition ratings, which I think need consideration. Rental 1 was sold in very good condition. Rental 2 sold in very good condition. And rental 3 sold in excellent condition. Whereas the subject I have in fair to average condition, the assessor's office has an average condition. So the price or the rent per square foot should not be towards the middle or higher end of that range based on the condition rating. So I looked at the lower end of the range, and the current rents, the actual rent of $5,000 a month, which was disclosed by the appellant, falls in line with that range and with the condition rating. So that's why I adopted on the lower end and just went ahead and adopted the actual rent for the income approach.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for the LTC staff appraiser? No other questions. Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the Board of Review's request of 967,600, land at 358,000, improvements at 609,600. I did an all sales comparison approach, and that amount falls within the range of the average between assessor and LTC.
Do we have any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted.
Next, we have the appeal of HR Camp LLC versus Assessor LG Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-77063, and that's 1034 South Carrollton Street Avenue.
Orleans Parish.
Good morning again, David Mejia. This one's a little bit different. 1034 South Carrollton. Our value initially was $951,300. We made a recommendation to the Board of Review of $808,600. Our independent analysis landed closer to that $808,600. This is a significant size building. It's 5,390 square feet on South Carrollton Avenue. It's not in the best of shape. Average fare it's borderline. In reviewing this, with the prior hearings, the tax commission was pretty close to our number, and this one, they were pretty far south of us. So we ran some independent analysis, and in all honesty, I was landing a little bit lower. I had two separate appraisers look at it as well, not knowing any facts, and we all came in in the six range, 650, 680,000. So we recognize that there's a little movement on this. And based off of that, if the appellant was here, I would have offered this. The split that I had was 681, 600 for a revised value, which is 207 on the land and 474, 600 on the improvements. And that's moving down quite a bit from our original analysis, the board review determination, our independent determination, still lands a little north of the tax commission though, but we just in preparation for this, I had some separate appraisers looking at it, and we were landing fairly tight as well. Just nothing formally done, but and just crunching some numbers in preparation.
Do we have any questions for the Orleans Parish Assessor? No questions. Can we hear from the LTC staff appraiser?
Yes, sir. Reed Huval, the Louisiana Tax Commission. I appraised the property at 1034 Carrollton Avenue in New Orleans. Came up with a total value of 535,000. Undisputed land value is 207,000. Improvement value is 328,000.
Do we have any questions for the LTC staff appraiser? With no questions, can I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the assessor's total of 681,600, 207,000 for the land, 474,600 for improvements. Just to note, I'd like to acknowledge the additional analysis by the assessor's office. Knowing me and my past assessments of the two sides, I did an average between, because there was such a range, and it came in at about 661,000. So I feel that's acceptable.
We have a motion. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted.
Next, we have the appeal of James J. Hance versus Assessor L.G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-76260.
Orleans Parish.
Good morning. I believe this is the last one on the docket. 1624 Dufasset. I want to apologize. There was a miscommunication in our office, and so our documentation was not submitted timely. However, I did my due diligence in reviewing this, and I, similar to the tax commission, landed a little bit north of our valuation. Our valuation is 949,800, which was affirmed by the board of review at 949,800. The tax commission was at north of that of 1,175,000. My independent analysis was landing very similar to that, north of that as well. So once again, we would request the board review number, which is the lower number, be affirmed. 305,300 on the land, 644,500 on the improvements, for a total of 949,800.
Any questions for the Orleans Parish Assessor? No questions. Can we hear from the LTC staff appraiser?
Yes, sir. Reed Huval again with the Louisiana Tax Commission. I appraised the property located at 1624 Dufasset Street in New Orleans. And I came up with a total value of 1,175,000 for the undisputed land value of 305,300. Improvement value of 869,700.
Do we have any questions for the LTC staff appraiser?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the appraised value of the parish assessors at 303,000 for land and improvements at 644,500 and a total of 949,800.
Just on the land, at 305,300 on the land value?
Yes, yes, sir.
We have a motion. Do we have any discussion? Do we have any objections to the motion? There being no objection to the motion stands adopted.
Please note that the remainder of our agenda has either been settled or withdrawn.
Do we have any other matters? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to adjourn.
Any objection to the motion? We will be adjourned. Time of 10:16.